Hi, it's Heather Furby with Pasadena Canines, Dog Training, Human Learning. And tonight we're getting back to the basics. This is the stuff that most trainers skip. And we're gonna roll you back and give you some practical things that if you only implemented the couple things we're gonna show you tonight, I promise you, you will have a different dog that responds to you differently. But we got to cover our basics. So in today's world, we want to take our dog everywhere with us and have them behave in all situations at all times. And that's basically service dog level behavior. Problem is, most of us don't know how to train service dogs. I do. That's been my background is training service dogs and service dog certificates and seminars. And I love it because it's not about just getting your dog to do tasks for you. It's about this relationship. The human canine bond is spectacular with service dog training. So that's what I get super excited to talk about. That's where I learned about these basics, was with service dog training from Bonnie Bergen at Bergen. I believe it's now Bergen University of Canine Studies. It's also where I'm getting my master's degree in the human canine relationship. So I love geeking into this stuff. There was actually a recent study, I think I quoted this in one of the webinars before, is that over 50% of dog owners express some form of regret of getting their dog. And that's because we spend so much time and money training our dogs, and yet we still have these behavior issues. And that's because most training starts with a different set of basics. Down, stay, recall, loose leash walking. Those are all great. But it's kind of the traditional canon of obedience. We don't start with obedience. We start with shaping our dog's brain. And I know that can be confusing for a lot of folks because it's different, right? Sit down, shake, roll over. Those are all fun, but they're kind of in the category of party tricks. And why I say that is because it takes us telling our dog what to do, and then our dog does it. However, there's a time and place for it. The reason we love it so much as humans, this traditional training, is because we have instant success. You know, we tell our dog to sit, dog sits, woohoo, brilliant. The problem is that that's kind of the extent of our training. We can only train our dogs based on our own, what we know how to do. Most of us don't know how to go beyond sit and down. We kind of train for those and ask our dogs to use them in inappropriate settings. Meaning, the number one thing I get is people go, yeah, my dog's great. When another dog passes, super reactive, but I get him to sit and stare at me and, you know, you feed, so he ignores other dogs. If that's working, awesome, great tool. Guessing that for 90% of you that doesn't work, because what it does is we're getting our dog to sit, and then we just have to be a constant pet dispenser, feed, in hopes that our dog doesn't get distracted. But distracting a dog actually doesn't work. So what are we doing? That's really interesting. First, I need to tell you two things. Housekeeping. If you are here and you have a question, something not making sense, just type it in. There's a Q&A box. Alan is here. He'll get the questions. He'll relay them to me. We're not going to do live questions. I know Luna's talking in the back. She has a question. So, and just, you know, questions, we're not going to get into necessarily coaching your particular dog. What is saying? You got something to say over there? Thank you. So, but if, you know, a concept isn't making sense that we're talking about, so go ahead and feel free to type that in. Second part, I have to be transparent. I flew back to California, both Alan and I, from Boston this morning. So we've been up since, I don't know, about 4 a.m. East Coast time, 1 a.m. California time. It's now 6. I don't know what time it is anywhere, anytime. I'm going to do my best to plow through this, but if I seem a little more scattered, it's because I am running off adrenaline, airport adrenaline. But I'm happy to be here because I love dog stuff. Luna is at my feet right now, and she will be the sidekick. I'm going to do some demo stuff with her. But when we talk about the... Thanks, Luna. I'm going to go ahead and put that back. Does that line up? Yep. How do I do this? One sec. Okay, good enough. So the mission at Casa de Canines is to have behavior-based training be as readily accessible as the traditional canon of training, of obedience training. Sit, down, shake. Recall and stay are actually a little bit more advanced because they are behavior-based, right? And they use the dog's brain, not just a command like sit, dog sits, gets a treat. Most trainers start with the traditional obedience, like I said, because it's easy to teach. It's easy to teach the human, very easy to teach the dog, and we feel success right away. Our bar for dog training, the standards is pretty low. So a lot of people call themselves dog trainers. They also don't know a whole lot more than the basic obedience stuff. I'm not saying it's wrong, because there is a time and place for that. And there are a lot of dogs that never need more than that. But if you're here with us at Casa de Canines, I'm guessing that there's a behavior issue that is not being solved by your dog being a master sit and down inside a classroom at a dog training class. So what happens there? Dogs contextualize, they learn all that. We have the best dog ever in that class. We open the door, we walk out, our dog pulls us, starts barking at other dogs or running the agility, and it's terrible. We go, what happened to the perfect dog I just had inside class? And it's also what happens when people come and talk to me and they say, look, this isn't how my dog acts. They're going crazy in class. At home, he listens. At home, she's calm. At home, this happens. Sure. And that's great if you never have plans to take your dog out of the home. But for those of us that want to be out and about with our dog, or even have guests over, or even sometimes our dogs are so chaotic that they are actually disrupting the household even at home, we need to get our dogs in the working frame of mind. So as we do behavior-based training, we play a lot of games. And it seems like we might do this very circuitous route to teach a behavior, that we take a lot longer to teach a behavior. And a lot of people come back and say, there's got to be a faster way to teach this, isn't there? I'm going to take an example. We do 2 paws up a lot, which is your dog putting their 2 paws on an object. We start with the front paws. Why do we do that? It's a fun power pose. Your dog's up, they're doing something. They know that when I'm in this position, I stay there. It's something we can do when we're on walks. We, ask them paws up. They get up on this, we get up on that. So it's tempting for us to be pointing and asking, like, paws up, we point, we mimic, we lure, and then we get the behavior, and people call me like, she got it, it was so fast, she's so smart. Yes, your dog is smart. I love that. And what we do when we end up gesturing and pointing and luring is we actually take the learning away from our dog, that learning opportunity away from the dog, because we want to shape the dog's brain. So that's why we concentrate on shaping with a lot of positive reinforcement. If we don't shape the dog's brain and your dog is not in a place to work, we get that dog that, and we all know this, you go out on a picnic and you see this great dog next to somebody and their dog's just sitting there looking. Like, what are we going to do next? What shall I do? Shall I go fetch the picnic basket? I will go over there and pick the picnic basket, come here and just lay down and be a mellow dog. And then there's our dogs that are over there snorting and snorkeling and rolling in stuff and just don't even care that I packed the picnic, that they're even out there. I have nothing to do with their day. Their agenda is entirely different than my agenda. And I go crazy, right? I'm out there being like, I'm being pulled around. And so a couple things. Some of that is training, but most of it is called, what we call a dog is biddable. It's years of breeding, lines of breeding that make certain dogs thousands of years into wanting to do our bidding. Biddable isn't really the perfect word for it, but it basically means a dog that's willing to work for you. Or like we said, do your bidding. I say sit, they say fine. I say retrieve, go fetch. They're just wait to be told what to do. Shelties are really good at that. They do it sometimes an abundance of energy. I have a pit bull who, not so biddable, is very trainable, very, very smart. I'll have to find the studies that I was just reading recently about easy to train dogs that are very biddable actually score very poorly in tests that are about problem solving and figuring stuff out on their own, because they're used to being told what to do. And then the dogs that we think are cute but chaotic, these terrible dogs that are reactive and not listening to us and don't give a care about what we're doing, they actually score really high on the problem solving. So that's why we want to keep working with our dogs' brains to get them into a biddable space, which basically is your dog, we're getting your dog to be operant. That's a scary behavioral based term, but it's basically an operant dog, biddable dog. They're willing to work with you. We can condition them that certain areas require certain levels of behavior. Other areas require other levels of behavior. What's also fun about this is that it keeps learning fun, because once you and your dog can work together and your dog's in the frame of mind of learning and you're in the frame of mind of learning and not just being saying, I want my dog to listen, I want my dog to listen to me. There's a lifelong, like there's nothing that the two of you can't learn together. And that's where you've got that lifelong relationship, which is just awesome in what we look at. But I also want to say, I know how hard it is to have a dog that has its own agenda. And we want our dog to do A, B, C, and the dog is like, I really have no interest in that. I'm going to be over here doing my thing, and I'll get back to you when it's convenient. And the problem with that is most of us don't know how to train. So I'm going to show you a couple things tonight. We're going to get back to the basics. But first, I want to talk about why we play the games is because it does shape our dog's brain. And we will continue to play games. People a lot think that, or I hear a lot that, we're training games and I want something useful. Like I need the useful piece of this. And that's not actually how we approach behavior-based training. That's how you approach basic obedience. I say sit, you sit. I say down, you lay down. I say stay, you stay. In all conditions, quickly, right? We all have those dogs. If that were the case, we have a very biddable dog who's willing to work with us. You're probably not on this training seminar. You're probably going, no, I got that weird pig dog that's over there rooting up, my vegetable garden. I'm trying to yell stop and they don't care. And that's because often we've helped teach a dog that training is boring. And that's why we do these games that help them learn to problem solve. They're fun, interactive, things I can do throughout the day. It's not this training session, but it also is every game builds a part of your dog's brain so that they're not dependent on you telling them what to do all the time. Because think of yourself. Somebody was giving me this example the other day. If you were sitting on the couch and your partner or parent or somebody, your friend, somebody that you care about comes home and says, go pack your suitcase. What's your first thought? You just get up and go pack your suitcase? No. You probably ask, why? We're going to talk about biddable here, right? Why? So your dog's asking you, why should I do that behavior? Now, if my spouse said, go pack your bags, and I said, why? He said, because I said so. Guess what? That doesn't make me move any faster. Be like, no, I need to know exactly what's happening while I'm packing my bags, not just because you said so. If he came home and said, pack your bags, I just won the lottery, and we're going to the French Riviera, I'm off, I'm absolutely going to go pack my bags because he gave it context. If you're German. So think of that as bidability. Your bidding is your dog is asking you why. Why should I do that behavior? What's in it for me? And is the consequences, the outcome fun? Or is it really boring? In which case, I don't need to do it anymore. Let's see if we can get Luna to not hit the camera over. So that's where we talk about biddable dogs, easy to train dogs, and then the cute but chaotic pups that we tend to deal with. So we want to get back to the basics here. We're going to show you a couple things that you can do with your dog. And I swear if you just do these couple things, you will have a different relationship with your dog, and you're going to see a dog that is willing to work with you. So the first one, we've got our basics. The B in basics is for bonding. Now, bonding, it's the foundation of the relationship. It's the lifelong piece we have with our dog. It's how we know the goofiness, we know the subtleties of our dog knows the subtleties of us. It's just that It's a frustration. What are we doing? That's Luna. She's not getting her treat right now. I think she's sitting here. That's a good girl. Okay. Okay. So that and the bond, I think we all know that. We know that this bonding is important, but we kind of go, yeah, but I got my dog, it was a cute puppy, and what else am I supposed to do? So the bonding is much more about the just, I don't know, the understanding, the Bluetooth connection between you and your dog, that my dog is aware of where I'm at, I'm aware of where my dog is, I know what my dog needs, and this is my buddy. So I'm going to show you 2 games here that can really increase the bond. One, some of you are going to know, but I want you to keep an open mind, because when we say, oh, I know, we actually close down our own learning too, just like when we're pointing and telling our dogs what to do. When our brains go, oh, yeah, I know that stuff, I'll get to it later. Go ahead and grab treats and grab your dog now, and I'm going to just show you. So we got towards me, and then we're going to talk about the importance of goodbye bowl, just getting rid of the bowl altogether of how we feed our dogs. So let me see if I can do this. I'm going to have to turn the camera around one sec. No. Yay, look at that. Okay. Almost working. Okay, so towards me. Simple foundation for all things dog. Some I've heard this called orientation. I've heard this was called there's so I don't know, so many different things. We say towards me. So this is Luna, and I have treats. So all I'm doing, tossing a treat out. She's gonna get it. When she comes back towards me, yes. Marker word yes. I'm not asking for the sit, she just is doing this. And I'm gonna toss the treat the other direction. So, yes. 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 Where's the office? Hey, so you can see how she's coming back much faster. Sit. Thank you. So we can start putting cues and commands in there. All I'm doing is waiting for her to come back to me. She doesn't need to stare at me, gazing in the eyes. It's just starting to orient back to you. The very beginning, now we play this a lot, but the very beginning part of this is if I toss the tree right there, I'm just looking for the slightest shoulder turn. Yes, that would be it. You see how she's just barely, it's kind of like, oh, I'm shaping. So I'm reinforcing the approximation of the movement. So toss the treat, she's coming back to me. Yes. Now you can see if we had a little more room, I could really get her running, which is a fun thing. So think of it if it's a rainy day. Now, this is laying the foundation. What does this do? It helps Luna learn that I'm a pretty good value to be around. I've got stuff that falls out of my pockets. I can be movement, I can be energy. I can ask to work with her. And so that sets the foundation for recall, right? Because if my dog's off playing somewhere and I recall them to me and I am super boring and I'm asking them to get here, if I put the leash on, like they're not going to come back again, right? They're just going to be like, oh, I was having so much more fun in that pile of bird poop over there. That coming back to you is really not a good value. So what I want is a dog that's like, you are the best value. I'm going to get back here every time. So play a couple times. Pass out. Yes. 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 So we can add movement. I can move over here. Yes. It's just she marks when she's coming back to me. Yes. Yes. Sit. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that's it. It's towards me. That your dog is getting rewarded for turning towards you, orienting towards you. Right at the beginning. Believe me, she did not do this at the beginning. I'd put down the treat and she'd wander over, sniff, get the treat, and then see maybe if there's a treat over there, and maybe the treat. And then in about 5 minutes, she'd come back and be like, hey, thumbs, why don't you toss another one? And we do that. It was slow. So the goal is to get her bouncing back. So you can see now she's a little bit more animated. Yes. I mean, this for Luna is animated. Yes. Yes. So you see how she's coming back fairly quickly as opposed to choosing to do stuff out there. Now, we play this a lot. It gets boring. So she'll stop responding after about 3 or 4 times, but it's such a great game to play. I get out of the car, pop out of the car, place them towards me. You know, she wraps around a few times. I play towards me. It's a great conversation starter. Like, hi, how are you? It helps me understand, is Luna willing to work with me today? Or is she having a day? In which case, picnic's all ready to go. She doesn't want to listen. We're not going on the picnic. Many times I'm going to sit on the back of my truck and just kind of work it out with her and see what kind of mood she's in, because she is a highly reactive dog. Listen to some of my other seminars when we talk about reactivity. What is reactivity? And she doesn't get along with other dogs. So I'm not going to force her into a situation that she doesn't want, but playing a little towards me, it's a great way to be like, hey, where's your brain? Are you listening? She knows the game, so now we can play in new environments. I can play in areas of more distraction. This is a level 1 level of distraction. She's familiar. There's no other distractions. I'm the best conversation in town right now. If I open this garage door and the deer and the turkeys are out there, that's a little better conversation. So, or just a different, interesting. So she'd stick around for a little bit, but I'd probably pop the leash on so that she doesn't run off and play towards me. I can walk towards the deer. We can go down to the goats, play towards me. And she's like, hey, I know this. I know this game, lady. I get the treat and I get to come back to you and I get some more treats. So super simple. It's an amazing game that really strengthens that bond because it's also hand feeding the dog. So, you know, we're teaching nice and gentle. I don't know if you can see that, Luna. I mean, this is an 80-pound pit bull. She has every ability to bite my hand off. And she won't even take my fingers. Oh, what are you doing? Thank you. And she knows that the treat will come to her when she's nice and quiet. That's different. That's airplane. We'll cover that later. But this is, so towards me. Toss the treat out, towards back, come back towards you, toss the treat out the other direction. You can get them running pretty far, depending on the activity level and the area that you've got. But it, you know, playing this about through, and she's panting usually at the end of this. If I add my own movement to it, coming back and forth, I'm panting. So they just need to be really short. And that sets that great foundation for bond. We're going to head back to the drawing board. In theory, look at that. Back to the drawing board. You're seeing the behind the scenes. Look at all that mess. Look at that. Okay, back to basics. So that's the bond. Towards me is just the foundation of getting your dog to be willing to work with you. If you take a class with me, you know, we've always taught that. Most people, when they come to class, still are like, oh, well, she doesn't listen here, but she totally does it at home. Absolutely fine for the first class or two. But I will tell you, I can tell who practices this stuff and who comes to trainings or workshops and is like, I read about it, but I didn't do it. And I'd much rather, honestly, that it didn't happen, because this is a dog. I mean, this is a game that towards me, you can start bringing anywhere. And if you've played it 2 or 3 times, the dogs advance pretty fast. So if they're out in a class environment or out in the park and not listening to it all, that's because their skills are such that, they don't have the skills of how to behave in that time. So we'll get to that. So bonding, we're spending a lot of time there because it is the foundation. So there's that towards me game. And I want to talk about goodbye bowl. So you just saw, we played probably about 10 times towards me, right? If I feed her Luna all her food in a bowl and then play towards me, first of all, I'm gonna have a poor pig dog. That is a lot of food. So when we say goodbye bowl, ditch the bowl, get rid of the bowl, I love doing this because I'm now taking their daily food allowance. I'll break that down in a minute, but it's their daily food allowance, their daily food allotment in calories and nutrition. And I'm breaking it up to work with them all day long. Because dogs think in terms of, some of you know this, work, food, then play, right? Work, food, play. Make them work for their food while playing a game. We've got that all right there. If I just take this great amount of food and place it down on the floor and be like, there you go, my princess. And she eats it all. And then I'm like, hey, why don't you come work with me? She's like, yeah, I have a full tummy. No, thanks. I'm not going to work right now. So I gave all the value that I had. I mean, I'd like to think my presence is a value, but food's a little bit more interesting for this girl. So I gave it away. And then I'm asking to work with me throughout the day and saying, well, shoot, they're not working with me. So use the food that they have to eat anyway and get them to work for that food. It doesn't have to be just a bowl of kibble, because that actually isn't interesting for a lot of dogs. Or if we're out in an area that is a high distraction, lots of conversations with squirrels and bunnies and foxes and leaves and bees and mosquitoes, all that kind of stuff, then I offer them kibble and they're gonna be like, whatever. So mix up, cheese, chicken, depending how big or small your dog is. I use these little dehydrated beef treats that break up real easily, but it's the daily food allotment. So I take the food in the morning. I usually do this, beginning of the week, break up different food bags, and then I've got that to work with her throughout the day. Sometimes things are busy. I get it. So sometimes, fine, put the food down in a bowl. But if we make feeding out of the bowl the rarity, you will have a dog that is biddable, that is food motivated, and that really wants to work with you, which is what we call operant. So if we've got that where your dog is like, yeah, I want that food, that's awesome, and I'm willing to do stuff for that food, that's the basis of what we've got with this bonding relationship. Is now I've got a dog who at least 80% of the time is going to listen. Now, the caution here, what I hear people say is, yeah, but my dog only listens when I have food. I know. That can feel like the stopping point. And it's mostly, again, because we don't have the skill to figure out how do we replace food with other kinds of rewards. But we'll get there. And if you take any of my training classes online or just keep tuning in these seminars, when you break that down, I want to focus on the basics tonight. But it's usually when we're doing boring training that your dog listens because there's a treat. So I'm asking them to do something super boring and they're like, why? Are we going to the French Riviera? If not, then you better have something pretty good for me to do that boring repetition of stuff. Otherwise, I really want to go chase a squirrel. And we say, no, you can't chase a squirrel. Well, then I got to offer something better. So I got to play with my dog and have some fun so that the squirrel doesn't become their sole obsession. Again, it's not distracting your dog. It's having your dog work with you so that you are the best value around. And if I've given them all their food in a nice bowl with a silver spoon and a glass of champagne, there's not a whole lot of reason to be around me for the rest of the day, because I'm not playing. I'm not making them work for food. I'm just kind of asking them to listen because I said so. And if they don't listen, I say, I'm going to say it louder. I'm going to say it more times. But the dog's already told me I don't have the skills to deal with this, so I'm not going to listen. So, does that make sense? Not type in questions, ask anything, give a thumbs up if it makes sense. I think there's little emoticons, or type in sense, something that lets me know you're on track. Okay. Okay, good. So, B, bonding, brings us, once we've had this bonding, we become aware of our dog's needs. So it's awareness. Awareness. Bonding awareness. This is awareness of the skills my dog has. the environment we're in. Can my dog handle that environment? Remember, this is the basics, the human side of dog training. So I'm not talking about the dog as much, I'm talking about us. What am I aware of? If I'm aware of what my dog can handle in the situation we're in, or what they cannot handle because I haven't taught them the skills yet to handle themselves in the situation, that bond becomes stronger because my dog starts looking at me going, hey, you're a human I can trust. You're not constantly dragging me into situations that I don't feel comfortable around, that I can't handle, which stresses the dog. So then your dog starts associating you with stress and they act out faster and quicker, or do behaviors that we don't like. And that bond breaks because we know how hard it is, like I said earlier, to bond with a dog that is chaotic. We take all those cute little puppy pictures and then our dog becomes this mess, in adolescence. And that is hard to do the bond, in adolescence. So we wait for our dogs to get older. And if we're not training and working with them, guess what? You just have an older, cute, but chaotic dog, as opposed to a calm, confident dog that has focus and that is willing to work with you. So the awareness, when we're aware of the surroundings, allows us to take a breather, to take a break, so that we're not setting those miscommunication pieces, which is like, I'm telling my dog, no, sit, no, sit, and I'm popping a leash and I'm cutting them off and I'm like, hey, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. Dog doesn't understand don't. They don't even understand English. And now we're putting adjectives and adverbs and all kinds of stuff. They understand energy. So if I'm aware of what they're able, I'm aware of the surroundings, I'm aware of safety, got that strong bond, I can relax, because what we do is we get to S, which is synchronizing. And Lord help me if I can spell this. Synchronizing. Synchronizing. Yeah. So your dog will synchronize with you, the human, on the emotional, physical, and energetic levels. So what does this look like in practicality? I come home and my dog is excited to see me, and I start going, so Luna, this is perfect, Luna's here right now, and I go, are you ready? Hi, I know you're so excited to see me. Are you so excited? Hi, so excited. Yeah. See how she gets up and she's like, I don't know what we're excited about, but the energy went up. And so now she's going to try to self-soothe, which usually means being obnoxious or jumping on me to try to soothe down. So if I'm just nice and calm, these can sync up with my energy. So energetically, if we're calm, the dog will have a better chance of being calm. If that dog is barking and driving us crazy and our energy's up, it usually just feeds that chaotic energy. The emotions, we've all known this at different times, right? When you're sad and that dog comes, cuddles next to you. There's service dogs for PTSD and such that do this much more automatically, but it's a beautiful thing when they sync up to our emotions. And then physical, they actually will sync up to us as we move. They move, we move. That's often when you see agility or the high levels of obedience training, or in ring obedience, hunting dogs, they'll sync up to our movements. You gaze one way, that dog will gaze one way. I sit down, the dog will sit down. This is really important when we're training movement kinds of pieces, because like a recall, because often we give a dog very confusing things. We're standing, we're not moving, and we're telling them to come towards us. It's a really not natural thing. There's nothing to sync up there, right? I'm standing here, down looking at you, and I'm asking you to approach me. It's not a natural dog behavior. They're usually a polite dog will stop about 3 feet away and be like, okay, I'll let you finish the approach since you're in charge of this. So we're not even aware that they're syncing with us because we're not moving, so they don't move. That's great. But we're yelling, come, and tell them to get over here. And they're like, you're not moving. So I thought we were stopped. So synchronizing will play a great part in dog training. So reviewing back to basics, we've got bonding, awareness, synchronizing. The last three we'll cover a little quicker, but this is the actual where the training starts happening. It's instructing. So this is going to be the cues, commands. A lot of the games that we play are going to be under the instructing. The obstacle course kind of stuff we do. It's a lot of fun. After we've done the bonding, we're aware of what we've got. We're synchronizing with our dogs. And then we start instructing, which is like, hey, now that you're ready to work with me, you're biddable, you're operant, play towards me, you know what, that something is going to be fun, learning is fun, and we can get into instruction. C is for coaching. Now, coaching, different than instructing. Coaching, very human, right? But our dogs need it too. They need bit by bit pieces. They need encouragement. They need to be set up to succeed and not fail. They need to not be corrected all the time. When you're being corrected and being told, no, that's not it, that's not it, bad. It's frustrating. Flip right back up, being like, where's the bond? You're not fun to listen to. There's no interest in that. But when we coach, we're basically helping us. I mean, this majority of what I do as a dog trainer is I work with humans. We can train dogs. People get actually very surprised how much time I spend on what's happening on the human side of the leash. And that's because it's 100% these basics. The human is in charge of bonding. Dogs are going to bond to us pretty quickly in their own way. But we have a certain idea of what bonding looks like. And if the dog doesn't match, we get very frustrated. So bonding is about learning, what does your dog like? What's the attitudes of your dog? What's a reward? Does your dog food motivated, toy motivated, movement motivated, couch potato motivated? Once I know that, we can have a better bond. The awareness. Dogs are super aware with sight, sound, smells, energetic. They are aware of what's going on. We aren't always as aware. So it's up to us to then become aware of the situation and aware of what our dog's skills can be, so that we can sync up emotionally, physically, energetically, start synchronizing with our dogs. And this way, this is where this whole unit, now you are a great team. Then you can start instructing your dog. Everybody wants to start with the instructions. And I go, you haven't shown your dog that you're worth listening to yet. So why is your dog going to listen if you're not worth listening to? So we coach by rewarding, helping them out, trying different things, gradually increasing the level of distractions or level of difficulty. And all this together leads to success, which is what we want, success. You always want to end your training on a success, meaning if you've tried something really hard and maybe you learned you pushed your dog a little too much, or they don't have the skills, or you don't have the skills to be patient enough to shape a behavior. There is a webinar we're going to do on shaping and luring and what's the difference and the different types of training. But if you don't have the patience to shape, then your dog also is going to get frustrated, and then you're frustrated, and that's not a success. So we go, okay, well, then we need to end on a success, meaning let your dog do something they know how to do real easily. We celebrate, and training session's over. You get on the phone, you call your trainer, me, you pick up a book, whatever you got, so that you learn what needs to be done so that you can set your dog up for success. So this is the human side, back to basics. Bonding, awareness, synchronizing, instructing, coaching, and success are the basics. I can't stress this enough that all of this comes before we even teach cues and commands, because we want this relationship with our dog. So if we're always coming out knowing what the basics are, not just focusing on, hey, training means I tell my dog to do something and they do it. You know, there's a time and place for that, but I don't know how much I need my dog to actually sit by my side in a perfect, butt down, pressed against my leg in this perfect obedience sit. Usually I just need her to not be a jerk around me. Just kind of wander, don't bark, don't get into stuff. You're off duty, could you just please lay down, do nothing? That's so much more important in 90% of my world than a perfect sit. Then we can do obstacle course and obedience, and that's fun because it's competition or it's training. But for the most part, I keep pointing down here because if you could see her, she's just sprawled out. This is a lazy dog. 2 to 3 minutes of playing towards me. She's like, brain's full. That's good for me. So we could go out and play 2 to 3 minutes of some other, one of the many other games. But if I ditch the bowl, play towards me, she's basically by my side all day, not being annoying. And how easy is that, right? Like we always want to make it so difficult for ourselves to think, oh, that can't be. That's not going to work for my dog. My dog barks like this. My dog does this. I can guarantee you, if you get rid of the bowl feeding, feed them throughout the day, and don't even worry about what you're asking them to do. Just start scatter feeding. Walk around, feed a little bit over there, play towards me. Do that for like 2 or 3 days. And if you don't have any change in behavior, give me a call and say, well, it didn't work. Fine, then we'll fine tune it. I'm not selling classes right now, but seriously, if wherever you are in the world listening to this, play towards me, get rid of the bowl, start working on those bonding, hand feeding, scatter feeding, play with your dog, find out what your dog likes. What's your dog's favorite food? What's their favorite toy? Get that bond back. Be aware of the surroundings you're in. Be aware of what you're asking your dog to do. And do they have the skills to do that? They'll synchronize up emotions, energy, physical. Then we can start instructing little by little. We coach to make it a little bit more interesting and add the variety and help them problem solve even more. And then that adds up to our success. So, did any questions come through that I need to be aware of? Okay. No questions. You type them in. You can also send me an email if it's a longer question. Heather@CasaLunaCanines.com. Heather@CasaLunaCanines.com. That you can type out, a little bit more. Again, general questions. I can't. If you're already working with me, you know that you have access. We could talk about anything, but happy to answer questions for you. In the comments section, I believe there's a link. I'm staring over at Alan. There's a link to the Buddy Basics outline. Now, if you've ever taken a class, you have the whole ebook is there, but you can always just download the intro, and that'll be a great reminder for here. So there will be a CU. If it's in the comment section now, there might be a link asking what do you want to hear next time, because I want you guys to drive this. So there's some suggested topics. You can just type in other and type in your own topic, what you want. I'm going to send out an email with the same kind of survey poll to everybody that attended tonight's webinar to say what's next. What do you want to learn? So anything that you want to learn, we'll be doing this. I believe we have another webinar in 2 weeks. I'll be a Teaching Tuesday. I am too tired to know what date that is. Let's see if today's the 21st. It'll be the 28th is one. And so it's going to be beginning of June. Like June, something around the 5th, maybe June 5th. Don't quote me on that. Look at your calendar. 2 Tuesdays from now, we'll be back. So until then, remain calm, confident, and connected. I'm Heather Furby with Casa Luna Canines. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in, get back to the basics, and we'll see you on the flip side.